Welcome to another episode of Live with Laura. I'm your host, Laura Hediger, and basketball fans, we have made it to the week of the Final Four, and we know who is in it. Illinois, UConn, Michigan, Arizona, all of them will be playing on Saturday with a trip to the national championship on the line. We know there are going to be amazing shots, incredible plays, and some jaw-dropping, and heartbreaking moments during these Final Four games. And that's just how we see it as fans. Imagine being on the court, calling every shot, and following all the rules of this legendary game. That is the job of the referees. And did you know here in the St. Louis area, it is home to one of the most legendary college referees of all time. I am talking about Dr. Ed Hightower. And we are thrilled that Dr. Hightower is giving us so much of his time as we head into Final Four week. It's good to see you, sir.
Laura, it's always a pleasure. We go back just a little bit, and it's always fun to be around you as you're such a professional.
I appreciate those words so much from you, because anyone who is from the St. Louis area knows you, not necessarily through what you do on the court, but all the incredible things you have done off the court for the greater St. Louis area. You over the last decade, just retired from being superintendent of the Edwardsville School District.
That is correct. I retired in 2015 after spending 19 years in the trenches and every day trying to make a difference for the lives of young people.
And you still do that, because I understand you are very involved in some other communities in the Metro East too right now.
We are. We're very involved. We just completed affordable housing project in Alton, Illinois, my original hometown. And now we're doing a complete revitalization in Venice, Illinois. We were fortunate enough in phase one to get them a $26 million elementary school, which they had lost theirs. And now we're in the process of bringing on 36 single-family homes, along with a grocery store and a pizza restaurant. And then the final phase of phase three will be a medical center that will kick off this fall. So we are trying to give back and make life, again, better for those who need someone to be their voice.
And you have been the voice for so many people. I am just in awe of you, thinking of all the different people and lives you have touched throughout your time here on our earth. Please tell us a little bit about your origin story. Where did you grow up? What are some of the life lessons your family taught you?
Yeah. Laura, again, people see me, they think that, I've always walked around with a necktie on, a suit. No, I was born in the Boot Hills of Gobler, Missouri, Gobler, Missouri. A huge town of about 50 people. And I lived there. Unfortunately, my parents divorced when I was 12 years old. There are 8 of us children, and things were tough back then. We worked in the cotton fields. My oldest sister and I, we were charged with the responsibility of carekeeping for the younger siblings while my mom worked. And in 1966, we were fortunate enough to move to Alton, Illinois, where industry was plentiful. And my mom moved us here for a better life. And certainly that did occur. It gave us the type of educational opportunities that we would not have received otherwise. It gave us the support base from so many people that we would not have had still in the Boot Hills. Not that there weren't great people. There were and still are. But moving here from an economic point of view, it gave us the opportunity to realize many of the things that we would not have had otherwise.
And I'm so glad you mentioned education early in that story, because you have now dedicated your life to education through Edwardsville, but also educating players and coaches in your time as a referee. So would you please go back and explain how in the world you were able to manage the very big career that you had, and then not only pick up refereeing, but at the level and the duration of the career that you have had as an NCAA ref?
Laura, I went to SIU in 1970 after graduating from Alton on a basketball scholarship. Of course, we didn't have the resources that so many young people have. And I started refereeing intramural basketball, and I'm going to knock you out of your chair there for $1.25 a game.
Ooh.
Intramural basketball in 1971. And it's amazing. That experience propelled me to the next level of working City League basketball in 1974 for $5 a game, and I would referee 3-4 times a week. I was teaching. I got my first teaching job in 1974 in Alton, and refereeing City League basketball for $5 a game. Boy, I thought I had really got a raise. And then from that point, I started refereeing junior high basketball, and then a few years in high school, and I was just so fortunate. I had an opportunity to attend a Big Ten basketball refereeing camp at Michigan State. I attended that camp. There were over 100 officials there, and the Big Ten selected 2 officials to go into what they called their training program for the Big Ten. And I was one of those 2. And from that point, I never looked back. It just happened. And I was very fortunate. I had a lot of support along the way from my superintendent back then in Alton. And I was fortunate enough to lease an airplane. I didn't own it, but I leased an airplane. And that individual would fly me to my games, fly me back that same night, and I would be at work the next morning. And that just really was a best of all worlds in a sense.
I was wondering how you made it work, because I've thought about you so many times over the years. Even when I see different refs at high school games, I think, how are they making that 2-hour drive? But you, living in the Alton and Edwardsville area, being a Big Ten ref, you could be at Ohio State one day, you could be up in Michigan another day to Iowa. That's hard.
Absolutely. And again, just you have to be very fortunate and a lot of support. My wife and I, we were married in 1974. She reminds me regularly that happy wife, happy life. And so we've been married now for 51 years, and she has been my support base. Our 2 daughters, Julie and Jennifer, they have been my rock as far as support. And there's so many other people, but again, you don't get there by yourself. And when you are in education, and I was always, for the most part, in a decision-making role where I was a assistant principal or assistant superintendent and on to the superintendent, and then going out on the floor to referee and adjudicate the rules. Those responsibilities don't change. You're there to adjudicate the rules and make sure that everyone has a fair shot. Mm-hmm. If I can keep it simple, every kid having a fair shot. Coaches are there to handle their players, direct their players, but not to take advantage of the rules. So always I was in a position where I would adjudicate the rules. And you have to be based and grounded in integrity honesty, hard work, and wanting to do the right thing, even when it isn't popular, even when you know that you're going to get a lot of criticism. That's how I was always built. And my mom played a major role in my life early on, and even until she passed away in 2014.
Oh,
She was there always saying you have to do what's right about
mhm.
people, and don't ever forget that someone helped you along the way. So you have that obligation and responsibility to reach out and help other people.
That is a beautiful life lesson. And I'm so glad that your mom got to see so much of your professional life, passing away for her just a year before you retired from Edwardsville. I'm very sorry for her passing. I love that you talk about how strong your wife is. 51 years. That's incredible. I kind of want to know from Julie and Jennifer's standpoint. Were you very big on rules in the house too? Did they sometimes think
Oh,
you enforce them even more
it,
there than on the court?
well, let me just tell you, I was both Julie's and Jennifer's principal at the elementary level. I was their assistant superintendent. And then, of course, in 1996, when I moved to Edwardsville, Julie had moved, she was headed to Illinois State in her freshman year. So she did not have the opportunity for me to be her superintendent, but I was her assistant superintendent. I was Jennifer's everything. So you're talking about, and I have to give both Julie and Jennifer a lot of credit. You know, when you're in that leadership position, your children can make it easy, easier for you. I'll say, I won't say easy, easier, or they can make it a lot harder. And both of our girls, Julie and Jennifer, they were model students. They didn't always do everything right. No kid does. I never did everything right, but they used good judgment. They never put us in an embarrassing situation.
Mhm.
And I would always tell them, when I was a principal, I had at my first elementary job, I had 375 students there. And I would tell both of them when they went through my school, I said, I'm going to only discipline 374 students here at Eunice Smith School. And so, to be quite frank, they didn't want kids to know that I was their dad. So it
Mhm.
worked out. It worked out perfectly. But they were just model young ladies, and very, very proud of them.
As you should be. Before we get into a big conversation about what it's like to be an official, to be a referee, what is it that you love most about the sport of basketball?
Well, to be quite frank, I'll tell you my favorite sport is baseball. I
What?
am baseball. Oh yeah, baseball. I played baseball and basketball in high school. I went to SIU on a basketball, but baseball is my favorite sport. I'm a huge Cardinals fan. I'm down in Florida right now, at our home down here. But guess what? I watched the Cardinals all weekend.
Hmm.
And for years, I had season tickets right down on the field. I'd go back with Jack Buck, Mike Shannon, those guys. So, yes, okay. So I'm a huge, huge baseball fan. I love basketball, but basketball to me was an avenue to the next level in that it got me through education, my education. It provided benefits that I would not have otherwise had for my family and for me. And so, I enjoy basketball, but my love is education. And after I worked my first Final Four let me see, 1988, Kansas versus Oklahoma in Kansas City, I was offered a full-time professional contract to referee basketball in the NBA full time.
Mm.
And it was a contract that was incentive laden, where if I would have accepted it, I would have gotten opportunities that other officials would not have had, because the NBA was really after me. I turned that contract down to stay in education. I enjoy refereeing, but I love education.
Mm.
That's the difference. And you have to, if you're going to do this for a career like you, and I meant what I said, you are just you are a natural. I've watched you from the time you went into the news business, and you were always so professional, so kind, and working to get a story. You could you were tough, but you were always fair. You were always honest. There was always a professionalism. That's the love that goes with education.
Mhm.
I enjoy refereeing, or I did, but I love education. That was my passion.
And you can still tell it, even though you have officially retired from educating, you're still educating people every day. And the fact that you're giving us so much of your time today, we are so thankful. Friends, we are speaking live with Dr. Ed Hightower, a legendary NCAA referee who he mentioned his first Final Four that he reffed with Kansas and Oklahoma in '88. I don't remember who won that one.
Uh, Kansas won. Oklahoma had beaten them twice in the regular season. There was the old Big Eight, and that was Danny Manning's. And of course, he hit the great shot at the end of the game to win it. And it was a legendary game.
And since then, you have reffed an additional 11 Final Fours, 12 in total.
I was very fortunate to referee 12 Final Fours, but that was great. It was something I never dreamt would happen to this old country boy. But when you think of going back and reminiscing, Lord, the greatest experience probably that I can say that I had in the area of officiating was being selected to represent the United States of America at the World Games in Buenos Aires, as well as to represent the United States at the Goodwill Games in St. Petersburg, Russia. To be selected, you, the sole person, think about it for a moment, representing your country, the greatest country in the world, on the highest stage, knowing that there's so much pressure, so much riding on your behavior, your decision making. That was probably the greatest experience for me.
And what's amazing is you traveled to these places, and I'm guessing not everyone spoke English. You probably didn't speak their language, but it's this beautiful game of basketball that everyone loves and appreciates, that you can all come together regardless of all of your backgrounds and spend 2 hours together.
There's no question about it. Well, let's talk about Illinois for a moment. You look at Illinois, they're great recruiting class. They're all, I wouldn't say all, but some of their greater players are international. But once you go onto that floor, there's a common language out there. And I can remember so often, I did have an interpreter. When you go to the World Games, they assign an interpreter to all of the referees, because again, you got 16 countries there, and like you said, we all speak different languages, and so they assigned an interpreter to each one of us, and it was great. But once you get out on the floor, trust me, it's an international language that everybody understands. The ball has to go into the hoop. If you commit a foul, everybody knows what a foul is. If you commit a travel, everybody knows what that is. So that language, everybody understands it.
I think this is a good time to take our first commercial break and come back to everyone knowing what a foul is, because I'll be honest, sir, I haven't watched as much basketball as you, but there have been many times where I feel like the spectators don't agree with actually what the refs are calling. We are going to get into some memorable moments with Dr. Ed Hightower, a legendary NCAA referee, ahead of the Final Four. A fascinating conversation. You are watching Live with Laura. Welcome back to Live with Laura on this final day of March. And man, March, the madness, it lived up to the hype. It has been a very exciting NCAA tournament as we are speaking live with Dr. Ed Hightower, who is now retired from refereeing NCAA games, most notably 12 Final Fours. And he spent the bulk of his, was it 36-year career?
36.
With the Big Ten. So I turn to you as we enter into Final Four weekend, two Big Ten teams. At the start of the year, did you think the Big Ten would be well represented in the big dance?
Yes. Now, some people will say, no, you didn't know that. Yes, I did. I felt very strongly that the Big Ten had four teams that could get to the Final Four in no particular order: Michigan, Purdue, Illinois, Michigan State. Okay, those four. And I just, not because I'm an Illinois fan, and I can be a fan now because I've retired. When I was refereeing the Illinois fan base, said, boy, Hightower should be giving us a call. You know, he's so hard on Illinois. I was hard on everybody. But I am an Illinois fan, and the last time Illinois was at the Final Four in St. Louis, I was there in 2005. I refereed the semifinal game, Illinois versus Louisville. Mm-hmm. And I really felt all along that Brad had put together the type of team that was set to make a long run, particularly when you get into tournament play, the NCAA, and having been there for many, many years. You have to have great guard play. That's number one. Number two, you have to have a combination of big men, not just one, a combination of big men that can control the interior of the paint to keep the opposing team from dominating the interior of the paint. And with that goes rebounding. And Illinois has just gotten better throughout the season, and what they have done from a defensive point of view. They could very well, they're going to have a tough game with Connecticut, but I think Illinois could very well be in the national championship. And I'll tell you what, Laura, once you get in the national championship on Monday night with the teams that are there, Michigan, along with Arizona, you just kind of flip a coin and hope that you get a break or two and everything goes your way.
So the Final Four that you described that you thought could make it there from the Big Ten, that's who I had, and I'm a casual fan. I'm just a Big Ten homer when it comes to this. I'm glad, though, that you mentioned you did ref that Louisville, Illinois game in 2005, because the other game then was Michigan State and UNC. So, of course, the Final Four is not set until the very end. When does a ref get a call, and do the NCAA execs, how does it work with having refs that typically ref the different conferences?
Yeah, well, it's changed now, but when I was refereeing, let's just use the game that the Final Four in 2005. I never thought I would be selected for that tournament, even though I was rated very high as one of the top officials in the country at that time. But at that time, it was all built, and the selection was based on your performance, number one, but neutrality, number two, meaning you either had to work for both teams or you didn't work for either teams. That was back then, okay? And that changed somewhat, I would say, in 2014. I think my last Final Four was in 2013. Don't hold me exactly to it. It was Memphis versus Kansas. That was the last time I went to. That was my last Final Four before I retired. But um, it has all changed, and it changed during that time where the officials now are working all over the country. They don't work just with one conference. So what they try and do now is select the best officials. But if an official has worked for a team throughout the year, there's that familiarity. So the NCAA has announced the 10 officials that will be at the Final Four, and I thought they did a good job of selecting the quality officials that can go in and handle those games. Now, I don't know what the assignments are. Just they select 3 officials for each game. They have an alternate sitting at the table. Pardon me, and then so there'll be 6 officials for Saturday's game. And then those 6 officials, along with the alternate, will go in on Friday night. They have to be there on Friday night. They will work their game, and then they will leave. And then the 3 officials that are selected for Monday night, they have to be there on Sunday along with the alternate. And those 3 officials, they know now, right now, they know what game they will be working at this weekend's Final Four, and that's how it's done.
So with those officials who do now know, is there additional prep work? Do you, the week of the Final Four, go back and study the rules of basketball again?
Oh yeah, yeah. They will have meetings with the NCAA. Has taken over control of once the tournament started. The NCAA tournament started 2 weeks ago. It was in the NCAA's hand. Each conference, they have nothing to do with the tournament. Okay. The NCAA will evaluate those officials. They have a coordinator of officials for the NCAA. Him and his staff, they evaluate every game, all the officials throughout the tournament. And then they met yesterday with the NCAA men's committee, yesterday on a conference call, probably around noon, and they selected the 10 officials. Let me say it would be 11. The 11 officials that will be at this weekend's Final Four. And yes, they will have meetings. The NCAA will meet with the officials on, Saturday morning again, as they have already been meeting with them, and say these are the things that we do not want to occur. These are the things that we want you to pay special attention to, and we want a good show by the officials. And that's basically how it goes. But they do cover key rules, key situations that occurred throughout the tournament that did not go well. So there's a constant review.
Something that's interesting as we sit here and speak in 2026 is thinking back to all the things that have changed in the 13 years since you last refereed a Final Four. Off the top of my head, social media is greatly different. NIL, kids, they're adults. The student athletes, it's just a different time knowing that they are paid, and they are paid a lot. And also, I think I have to include this, the fact that a lot of colleges now allow alcohol consumption during the games, which when you're fired up and heated, that doesn't always work well for fans and interactions, I've noticed a time or two. So in these 13 years, are you kind of happy your career ramped down when it did versus dealing with all the things that are going on now?
Well, I can't say I'm happy that it ended, I made the decision that, and it was my decision when I made the announcement to the Big Ten. They were totally surprised. Again, I could have gone on. I was in good health. My ratings were still good, but I had made the decision, as I did when I retired after 19 years from being superintendent. I had gone as far as I wanted to go. I had accomplished many of the goals that I set out to accomplish, and there wasn't much left for me to do. So I did not want to just hang on. But to get back to your question, the things that have changed, the social media, it's a different world now in all aspects of life. Whether you're talking about sports, you're talking about just life in general, the social media aspects and the negativity and the ugliness of social media is just, it's out of control. So that, let's not give that any more credibility, social media. But then let's go over to the NIL. The NIL, and I am the vice chair of the board of trustees for all of the SIU campuses, and I've been on the board for a number of years. And SIU, Carbondale, SIU, Edwardsville, we have two Division I programs, and trying to compete in this era of NIL and transfer portal, it is just incredible. I always advocated for the players getting some compensation. Okay. And it goes back to my experience with the Fab Five. I lived with the Fab Five. I refereed more games with the Fab Five than any official in the country. Even I had them at the Final Four when Chris Webber called the sixth timeout. I was the lead referee on that game against North Carolina. So I just thought that group of talented players revolutionized sports, okay, and changed society as the way we looked at sports, the way we behaved, and the memorabilia, the jerseys, and all being sold, and those kids were not able to even get a hamburger without the NCAA criticizing them and so on. So I always believe that young people should be compensated in some way, shape, or form. I never put a level of value on that compensation. I just believe that they should. But it went, and the NCAA did not control or take the bull by the horn and get some defined definition of what this pay would be. And then they allowed the courts to interject and involve itself, and then it just got out of hand. Is it out of hand right now? It is totally out of hand, the NIL and the transfer portal. When a coach, and I'm good friends with the Tom Izzo, I'm very close to Brad Underwood. Both of those guys are intense. They do a great job. They scream at a kid for not making the correct pass or playing defense or being selfish. Somebody is on the phone that same night trying to recruit those players away from them. That is not how this game should operate. To answer, and I'm kind of getting on my soap opera a little bit. What we need to do here, they need to have the players need to have a contract. They need to be in that situation for at least 2 years. If they break that contract, the only way they should break that 2-year contract is if the coach leaves within that 2 years, then they should be allowed to be a free agent as well. If they break that contract within that 2 years, then they have to pay that money back. And the other thing, to try to level the playing field, you're never going to level the playing field when you're talking about a tier 1 university like a University of Illinois against a Carbondale or an Edwardsville. You're mixing apples and oranges. But what can happen at that top level, put a cap on that, on the amount of money. And if those things are done, then you are now controlling the process. The other big change that's happened in basketball, there is no such thing as travel anymore. We brought in the Euro step, and I refereed a lot of European basketball uh, when I was refereeing, when I would represent the United States in international competition, and the Euro step, that's that extra step.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of a sudden, we don't have a clue of what that extra step means in college basketball. And yes, it's deriving a higher scoring level of basketball. If that is the goal, then fine. But I'm a purist. I believe that travel should be called. I believe that a foul should be called. I don't believe that you should have phantom calls out there. And I believe that the 5 players on each team should have an opportunity to win the game. And I've given you a lot there.
And
But the game has changed.
I am so appreciative that you did share so much of your thoughts and your passions about NIL, because I think normal fans are really struggling with it too. So to hear from someone who's been on the inside and who has wanted some type of compensation, to get your viewpoint, it's fascinating.
Well, thank you. And I still have a close relationship with several of the major college coaches, and I was fortunate enough. Up until 3 years ago, I spent 3 years with the Big Ten as the senior advisor to Commissioner Kevin Warren until he left and took over the president CEO of the Chicago Bears. We were transitioning in the Big Ten to bring in UCLA, USC, Washington, and Oregon. Well, I was all part of helping to work with the athletic directors, work with the coaches, work with the commissioner on the officiating side, as far as this putting the staff together, evaluating the staff. So yes, even though I've been off the floor refereeing, I spent some additional time in an administrative role in the Big Ten a few years ago.
And I feel like that has probably been hard for some of your successors to manage the travel, bringing in the UCLA, the USC's, Oregon's, Washington's. That would have been much harder on you living in Edwardsville. Even though you did have a plane, that's still hours longer in the air.
Couldn't have done it, Laura. There's no way I could have done it and did an effective job of being superintendent of a school district of 7,600 students. And of course, Edwardsville very well. Mm-hmm. It was an outstanding school district, academically, performing arts-wise, as well as our athletic program. We did it the right way at that time. And no, I could not. And if I would have had to make a choice back then, it would have been education. I would have forewent the officiating in a heartbeat to continue my career as an educator.
Back to his first professional love, education. We are chatting live with Dr. Ed Hightower. This is a good time to take our final commercial break. We'll be right back with more of Live with Laura. We have a few more minutes with Dr. Ed Hightower, the former Edwardsville superintendent and a legendary NCAA referee who refereed 12 Final Four championships. He's also been married for 51 years, proud father of 2 very accomplished women. As I say all those things, I just keep thinking, how have you handled so much?
Well, the bottom line, I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of support, and anyone who thinks they get there by themselves, they're fooling themselves. They're not fooling anyone else. And again, I've had a strong support base. Again, my wife has been my rock for years, still is. My daughters, they basically just needed that encouragement, support, and they've carved out a life of success, and we couldn't be prouder. And that's what I share with young people as I travel across the country and speak to young people as well as to educators. Um, I tell a story quite often, Laura. I grew up in the South. I had a third grade teacher who didn't believe in me. She made me feel as though I was worthless and would never amount to anything. But then my fourth grade teacher, she's the love of my life, and I tell this story as I talk to teachers and all. Her name was Miss Jackson, my fourth grade teacher, and she made me feel as though I could conquer the world. And she encouraged me. She stood by me. She helped me. And when you've got individuals like that, you can accomplish anything. You can accomplish anything. And so I'm not I'm not a special person. I'm just an example of so many people out there who are doing so many amazing things to change the trajectory for people who again need someone to be their voice. So I'm not the exception, and I don't want anyone to think I am. There are some amazing people out there doing what is right about people. And again, I go right back to you. I've watched you over the years. You have not changed, given me this opportunity to talk about being a voice for others, encouraging others to step up, encouraging others to keep doing what they're doing, encouraging others to say, hey, things can change if I do certain things the right way and be that example to other people. That's what you've been. And so there are a lot of amazing people out there.
Again, thank you for the kind words. They mean a lot to me. And I'm just so thankful that you were put in Miss Jackson's class back in fourth grade. Do you ever think about what your life would be like if you didn't have Miss Jackson, and if you had a similar teacher in fourth grade like the one you had in third grade, and what that would
I
have
do.
done for you?
I do. And when I talk to administrators, when I talk to principals, when I talk to assistant superintendents, I'm sorry, I tell them, I said, you have an obligation and responsibility to ensure that there's a Miss Jackson in every classroom. You never know what that kid, that young person can do if we don't give that young person that opportunity. Who would have dreamt in third grade when I've got a teacher saying to me that I'll never amount to anything, calling me stupid? And then all of a sudden, this same young person that was made to feel awful at that time grows up, gets a doctorate of education, superintendent of the best school district on the Illinois side there, 7,600 students, 19 years, 12 Final Fours, selected to represent the United States of America. Oh, and by the way, selected as Illinois Principal of the Year, and then went on to be National Principal of the Year and visit the White House as part of that ceremony. Who would have dreamt that? Who would have dreamt that if I would not have had an opportunity to be in a Miss Jackson's class? So I say to individuals regularly, you don't know what impact you have on one's life until down the road. So since you don't know that, every day that you go into that classroom, you go in with a smile. You don't have to go in there and tell people that you're having a bad day. I say regularly when people ask me how things are going, I say life is good. No one wants to hear about all of the problems you're having. They want you to be an inspiration to them, and we all can do that. So I always go back to that third and fourth grade teacher, and also my mom, who didn't give up on us, who said, you're gonna make something, you're gonna get an education. You're gonna get an education, whether you like it or not. You're gonna go to church. And guess what? You are gonna treat people the way that you want to be treated. And when you have those kinds of examples, you can't do anything but succeed in life or whatever endeavors you're seeking.
I think that's beautiful. And I took notes in the early part of our conversation where you were talking about your mom and some of the words that you used, that she used with you: live a life with integrity, honesty, and do the right thing. And those principles continue to shape your life. And the fact that you're giving us so much of your time, I definitely hope whoever listens to this later connects with it. And as you mentioned, we all have bad days. No one wants to hear it. Be that inspiration.
Absolutely. It is not hard. It isn't hard. It isn't hard to look at someone and say, they're having a bad day. I'm going to be an inspiration to them. And you don't have to, whatever you do, be honest with people. But by the same token, you don't have to go over and dump on them and make them feel worse. All you need to do is just say, you know what, I'm here if you need my help and assistance, and then follow through and make things better for them.
In the few moments that we have left, I would like to go back to a few of your refereeing moments. Back when you
Sure.
started with intramural basketball for $1.25 a game, do you still remember the first game that you refed?
Oh, I do. I remember it was SIU in the old bubble. That was before you were born. In the old bubble at SIU, Edwardsville, refereeing games there. And boy, if you can referee intramural basketball, you can referee anywhere. Trust me, because you have a lot of players who couldn't play, never could play. You have a lot of players who think they can play, and and then you got a lot of butchers out there that just go out there and just hurt people. So, and then they want to beat you up and scream and holler at you when you make a call against them. So if you can go through all of that, then you can be successful as a referee. So yes, I often think of those intramural days and all of the times that I was threatened back then, and I grew to do the right thing even when it was not popular.
You get the call to go to the training at Michigan State. 100 hopeful referees are there. You're one of two. Do you remember the
Yes.
first collegiate game you refed?
Oh, I do. I do. I was, let me tell you what, when I got the letter from the Big Ten conference saying that, hey, we've selected you to move into our developmental program, it was exciting. It was exciting. Laura, I put that letter under my pillow. I'm this grown guy. I was so excited. And then all of a sudden, I I went to Western Illinois. My first game in the Big Ten was at Eastern Illinois University. Eastern Illinois University at that time was Division II. They were not Division I. And then I would go to Western Illinois. They were Division II. But the Big Ten assigned the officials for those schools: Eastern, Western, Northern Iowa. Those were the three, and then there were a couple others that they would assign. And you didn't get paid a lot of money, but just the mere fact that I I get this letter from the Big Ten saying that I'm on their satellite developmental staff, and so I worked in that for 2 years, and then I was selected to go into the Missouri Valley Conference, and I didn't know it at the time, but the Big Ten had called the supervisor of the Missouri Valley Conference. At that time, you were looking at Illinois State, Bradley, Wichita State, Tulsa, just great schools back then in the Missouri Valley. And so I worked there for 2 years, and then the Big Ten said, hey, we're going to bring him on full time in the Big Ten. And of course, my first game in the Big Ten was with Coach Knight. Think about that one for a moment.
Ooh, you didn't get hit with a chair, right?
No, I did not
Okay.
get hit with a chair, but Coach Knight and I, we would argue a little bit on the floor, but we became very close off the floor. We would talk education a lot. We'd talk about kids a lot, and so, it was just a relationship. The various coaches knew I was in education. They knew that I was on the board of trustees, and there was just a respect that the coaches had that I would do the right thing in critical times, tough times, and when the game was on the line. And that's what you have to know that about people. Will they do the right thing when it's unpopular? When you go into Illinois and you've got 15,000 crazy folks at Illinois, and you got those Orange Crush kids down on the floor, and they're saying some of everything to the official. You think if that official does not have the confidence, that sense of integrity, that his decision-making won't be swayed a little bit? Yes.
Oh my goodness, you have lived an incredible life. As we do wrap up this conversation, there is a referee shortage, as you well know. What would you say to young people today who have thought about becoming a referee?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the parents. I think, and I've been asked this question a lot, and I think first of all, parents need to. If I'm running a City League program, and that's basically where it starts, I'm going to tell those parents up front: if your kids sign up, if you sign your child up to play in City League sports, let me be crystal clear. You will not come to the game screaming and hollering. There's a decorum that you will follow, or you will not be allowed to participate. That's number one. Then number two, we take these young people and we encourage them to go into this advocation. Young people are looking for ways to make extra money. This is a perfect way for young people to make extra money. But we have to give them the infrastructure to learn, grow, make mistakes, and not be harassed, physically assaulted by adults. It has no place in this business. And that's the first thing that we should tell parents. You sign your kid up. Here are the expectations and standards, not for your kid, but for you parents.
It's a good reminder, something that all of us should be thinking about as we do go to, whether it's the T-ball game or we go to a college game, or if we even sit with friends and watch the NCAA this weekend. Okay, Dr. Hightower, we have 20 seconds. Who's going to be in the big game on Monday night?
Well, let me tell you, Laura, I make no bones about it. I'm pulling for the two Big Ten teams. That's number one.
Okay.
But I have to always say, and I'm going to use the standard answer to always give: the team that scores the most points will win
the game, and he should
will win the game.
Dr. Hightower, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. And friends at home, until next time, thank you for listening, thank you for learning, and thank you for being live with Laura.